I didn't see it coming. I didn't hear it. I smelled it. Burnt rubber, smoke, wet earth, familiar, heavy, terrifying. And in that single breath, I realized something I had spent my whole life running from.
My name is Ariel, and I've always believed that silence was a kind of strength. Growing up, I learned early that some stories were better buried, locked inside the body like a room with no door, no windows, no light. You pretend you cannot hear the echoes. You pretend the memories aren't breathing behind the walls. And you live your life hoping they stay quiet. But trauma is strange. It doesn't disappear. It waits. And the day it wakes up, it shakes everything. I was 32 years old when mine returned. The morning it started, I was standing in my apartment kitchen making tea. My kettle was a soft blue, a gift from my best friend Simone, and it whistled in a gentle tone. I loved that sound. It meant calm. It meant routine. It meant I had survived another night of too loud thoughts. But that day, something felt wrong. The air was heavy, my breath tight, and a strange coldness sat at the base of my neck, like someone had touched me with icy fingers. I tried to ignore it. I poured the tea, sat at the table, opened my laptop to start work. But then, out of nowhere, a smell hit me. Rubber, smoke, wet earth. A smell I hadn't sensed in 24 years. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs like it was trying to escape. My fingers curled so tight around my mug, I nearly dropped it. That smell belonged to one memory I had spent my whole life running from. I pushed the laptop away. My hands were shaking now. "No," I whispered. "Not today, not again." But trauma doesn't ask permission. In one flash, I was no longer in my apartment. I was 8 years old again, standing in the backyard of my grandmother's house, staring at the old shed, and I could hear the sound I hated most in the world. A man laughing. My therapist, Dr. Elaine Carter, often told me, trauma returns when the body feels safe enough to remember. Safe? Nothing about that moment felt safe. The memory hit me like a crashing wave, sharp and cold, dragging me back into a moment I had buried so deep I had convinced myself it never happened. I could see the shed door, could smell the smoke from the old burning pit behind the house, could hear the crunch of boots walking towards me, and that laugh, that deep, gut-twisting laugh, I snapped out of it so suddenly that I spilled tea on my hands. The burn jolted me back into reality. I stood up, breathing hard, leaning against the counter. "No," I whispered again. "Not now." But the memory was awake now, and it wasn't going back to sleep. Simone arrives. Simone had a spare key. I gave it to her last year after she staged an intervention because I kept isolating myself. So when she walked in without knocking, I didn't even jump. She stopped the moment she saw me. "Ari, you okay?" Her voice was soft, careful, like she knew I was standing on breaking glass. I shook my head. I didn't trust my voice. She stepped forward slowly and placed her hand on mine. "What happened?" I wanted to lie. I always did. But Simone had known me since middle school, since I was that quiet, jumpy girl who flinched every time a teacher yelled, who hated closed doors, who never went to sleepovers. She knew me too well to believe a lie. I remembered something, I finally said. Something dark passed across her face, worry mixed with dread. "From when you were little?" I nodded. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Okay," she whispered. "Do you want to sit?" "No." "Do you want air?" "Yes." She nodded and grabbed my coat. That was Simone's gift. She never forced, never pried. She just stood with me while I figured out how to breathe again. We walked to the small park 2 blocks away. The trees were turning orange for autumn, and children were running around on the playground. But the laughter, the running, the slamming of the swing chains, every sound felt like an echo of childhood. We sat on a quiet bench under a sycamore tree. Was it a nightmare? Simone asked. No, a flashback. She inhaled sharply. Ari, you haven't had one in years. I know. What triggered it? I stared at a little girl in a pink jacket chasing a butterfly. Something about her innocence made my chest ache. A smell. She waited, patient, gentle. I took a deep breath. It was the smell of smoke, rubber, burning, wet dirt. The look on Simone's face changed. She knew the story, or at least the version I had allowed her to hear. The version where my childhood trauma was vague, blurry, unspecified. I had never told her the real reason I hated sheds, or why I could never stand the sound of a man pretending to play rough with kids, or why I always panicked when I smelled burning rubber. I never told anyone, not even myself. When I got home, I showered twice, trying to wash away a memory that wasn't even on my skin. But the moment I stepped out of the bathroom, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something, an instinct, made me answer. Hello? A woman's voice. Soft. Tired. Familiar. Ariel? She paused. It's Lorraine. My heart dropped. Lorraine. My mother's cousin. The only family member who ever protected me. I hadn't heard her voice in 10 years. I know this is sudden, she said, but I need you to come home. Home. That word was a wound. To the old house? I whispered. Yes. My throat tightened. I can't. You need to, she said gently. It's your grandmother. She's gone. I froze. Grandma Ruth. The woman who raised me. The woman who taught me strength and silence. I sank into the couch. When? I whispered. 2 nights ago. I felt like the air had been punched out of me. She asked for you, Lorraine added softly. Every day that week. My eyes burned. She asked for me. After all those years of distance, after all the walls, she asked for me? I know you and her had history, Lorraine continued carefully, but her last days were complicated. Complicated, a polite word for painful. Then her tone shifted. And Ariel, she left something for you. Something she said you needed to see. A cold wave rolled through my chest. See what? She didn't tell me, Lorraine whispered. She just kept saying, tell her to forgive me before she sees it. My blood ran cold. Forgive her before I see it. See what? The past didn't just knock on my door. It broke it down. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that shed, heard the boots, smelled the smoke. What if going back triggered everything? What if I finally remembered the full story? What if I learned something worse than the memory I already feared? But then, what if I needed to? What if the truth was the only way to stop the flashbacks? By sunrise, I had packed a suitcase. Simone showed up without me even calling her. You're going back? She asked quietly. Yes. I wanted to say yes, but something deep inside me whispered that this was a journey I needed to take alone. No, I said softly. I think I need to face this myself. She hugged me, tight, grounding. Okay, she whispered. "But call me the moment you get there. And Ari?" "Yeah?" Her eyes softened. "You deserve the truth, whatever it is." Driving back to my hometown felt like moving through a ghost story, one where every street held a memory I tried to forget. The old church where they made us sing in the children's choir, the dusty store where Grandma used to buy peppermint candies, the broken stop sign at the corner where my bike slipped when I was 9 and I scraped my knees so bad Grandma cried while cleaning them. And there it was, the house. Tall, quiet, wrapped in ivy and shadows. I parked in the driveway and sat for a long time. My hands were trembling again. Then I whispered to myself, "You survived this once. You can survive it again." I stepped out of the car. The air smelled like smoke, wet earth, rubber. My stomach twisted. And then, behind me, a voice said, "Ariel?" I turned. Lorraine stood on the porch, older, thinner, eyes full of something like guilt. "I'm glad you came," she whispered. "Where's the thing she left for me?" She hesitated. "In the shed." My heart stopped. Of all the places, all the memories, all the wounds, the shed. My breath turned shallow. Why would she put it there? Lorraine looked down at her feet. "Because," she whispered, "that's where it all started." A cold shiver ran up my spine, and before I could speak, she added, "And, Ariel, that's not the worst part." I swallowed hard. What could be worse? She lifted her eyes, full of fear. She said, "It's time you know who he was." My blood froze. He, the man from the shed, the man in the memory I had buried, the man whose laugh still haunted me, the man whose face I couldn't remember. My voice cracked. You know who he was?" She nodded slowly, and then she said something that shattered the last piece of silence I had left. "Yes. And, Ariel, he was family."
The world tilted. Family? The word echoed in my mind like a scream trapped inside a hollow room. My knees felt weak and I grabbed the railing of the porch just to stay standing. Lorraine stepped closer, her voice low and trembling. "Ariel, you might want to sit." I shook my head. "I don't want to sit. I want answers." She took a slow breath like she'd been holding the secret for decades. "You were 8. She began softly, "and people in this family, your grandmother included, believed in burying things, believed in protecting reputations more than protecting children." My stomach twisted. She continued, "Your grandmother didn't mean to overlook you. She didn't mean to let what happened happen. But she was raised in a world where women were trained to stay silent, to endure, to protect the men even when the men were wrong." I closed my eyes. It hurt to hear. It hurt even more because it sounded true. It sounded like Ruth. "And the man?" I whispered. "Who was he?" Her lips trembled. "Your uncle." "Uncle who?" I demanded. She hesitated. Too long. My heart hammered. "Lorraine," I snapped. "Tell me, now." Her shoulders sagged. "Uncle James." I felt my world slide sideways. No, no, no! Uncle James was the one who bought me birthday presents every year, who let me sit on his shoulders when I was 5, who everyone loved, men, women, the church, the neighborhood, the charming one, the funny one, the one people trusted. My stomach churned violently. That can't be true. "Ari," No, I stepped back. No, he was kind. He was two people, she whispered. One the world adored, and one only a child like you ever saw. I swallowed hard as my body started trembling. I remembered flashes of him, his smile, his laugh, the way he smelled of cigarettes and motor oil. And the shed? I whispered. Lorraine nodded. You always disappeared when he visited. You hid behind the couch or ran out into the yard. That wasn't normal childhood shyness, Ariel. That was fear. I stared at her, breathing shallowly. But why didn't anyone stop him? The question broke from me like a wounded cry. Her eyes filled with tears. We tried. I tried. But your grandmother, she couldn't face it, couldn't bear the shame. She kept saying James wouldn't do that, not to family. My chest tightened painfully. That's why you left, I whispered. You moved away when I was 10. She nodded. I couldn't live there anymore, not with the guilt, not with the silence. And Grandma? I asked. Why would she leave me something in the shed? Why put anything there? Lorraine's voice cracked. Because she knew she failed you, and the truth, the whole truth, is in that shed. I stared at the house, the place I'd spent my entire childhood pretending to be safe. Then my gaze slid to the backyard, to the shed. It looked smaller than I remembered, but darker, heavier, like the walls held breath. I stepped off the porch and walked slowly across the dry grass. Each step felt like wading deeper into cold water. Lorraine followed at a distance, not wanting to rush me, not wanting to abandon me. When I reached the shed door, my hand hesitated on the rusted metal handle. The smell hit me again. Rubber, smoke, damp earth. My throat closed. I can't, I whispered. You can, Lorraine said softly behind me. You're not that little girl anymore. But I felt like her, small, powerless, terrified. My vision blurred, my breathing sped, my fingers trembled so hard I could barely keep them on the door handle. Lorraine stepped forward and placed a hand on my back. Open it when you're ready. A tear slipped down my cheek. I'm scared. I know. I don't know what I'll find. I know. I don't want to remember. Her voice softened even more. But you already have. She was right. Something inside me snapped, and with a trembling breath, I opened the door.
When the tears slowed, I wiped my face and looked into the box. The next item was the cassette tape. Old, weather-worn. A small label read, "His Confession." My stomach dropped. What? I whispered. What does that mean? Lorraine swallowed. Your grandmother confronted him. Years later. She recorded it. A cold wave rushed through me. She never played it, Lorraine continued. She said she couldn't listen, but she kept it because she thought you deserved to hear the truth from his own mouth, if you ever wanted to. I shook my head violently. I don't want to hear his voice. You don't have to, she said gently. Not today, not ever. But it's there, in case you need proof, for yourself, for closure. My hands trembled as I placed the tape aside. My breath felt sharp, like inhaling broken glass. Then I noticed the last item in the box. The photograph lay face down. I hesitated. Ari, Lorraine whispered, you don't have to look. I do. I lifted the Polaroid. It showed me. 8 years old, standing in the backyard. Face pale, dress dirty, eyes terrified. And behind me, partially in shadow, was Uncle James. His hand rested on my shoulder, too tight, too familiar. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the date written in ink on the photo. June 17th, the day everything changed. My hands went numb, my chest tightened. I covered my mouth, shaking violently. That's the day you had the nightmare, the one you kept having every summer after that. I stared at the picture, at my little self frozen in terror. It wasn't a nightmare, I whispered. No, Lorraine said softly. It was a memory. I felt something inside me break. Not painfully, but like a chain snapping loose after years of choking me. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't unstable. I wasn't overreacting. I was a child who had survived something grown men should never do. And the evidence, the truth, was right in front of me. I couldn't breathe. The fury that rose inside me was like fire licking up dry wood, fast, consuming. How could she let this happen? I cried. How could anyone let this happen? Lorraine pulled me into her arms as I shook. Your grandmother loved you, she whispered. She just loved you the wrong way. The way she was taught, with silence instead of action. And my mother? She left me here, with her. Your mother left because she was broken too. James hurt her when she was young. She couldn't stay in this house. She tried to take you, Ari. She did, but Ruth wouldn't let her. I froze. The world stopped spinning. What? She begged, she fought, but Ruth believed she was unstable, emotional, irresponsible. She didn't know the full truth. She didn't know what James did to her own daughter. And by the time she realized, your mother was gone. My knees hit the floor of the shed. I sobbed until my throat burned. Because everything I believed about my childhood, every story I told myself to survive, was a lie. My mother didn't abandon me. She was pushed away. The one person who should have protected me made the wrong choice out of fear and shame. And I carried the pain of their mistakes my whole life. The little girl inside me, the one who screamed in that shed, finally had a voice, finally had validation, finally had truth. And truth? Truth hurts, but it also frees. After a long, heavy silence, I whispered, "What do I do now?" Lorraine squeezed my hand. "You heal." "From this?" "Yes." "How?" "By facing it. By understanding it wasn't your fault. By letting the truth replace the fear." I wiped my tears. "And the tape?" I whispered. "That's your choice." I nodded slowly. Then she helped me stand. I closed the shed door behind me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel afraid of it. The shed stayed behind me, but the weight of what I'd found pressed heavy against my chest as Lorraine guided me back toward the house. I walked like someone moving through water, slow, disoriented, unsure if my feet touched the ground. Inside, the air was warm, smelling faintly of cinnamon and old wood. It was the same scent from my childhood, but it no longer felt comforting. It felt haunting, like a memory waiting in the corner of every room. Lorraine placed a glass of water in my hands. "You should drink," she said. But even lifting the glass felt like a task beyond me. My fingers shook. My mind kept circling the same thought. My mother tried to take me. Grandma stopped her. Uncle James hurt us both. "How did everyone keep this secret for so long?" I whispered, staring blankly at the floor. Lorraine sat across from me, her eyes soft with grief. "Families protect themselves," she said, "even when it destroys the children inside them." Her voice broke slightly. I'm guilty too, Ari. I should have spoken up. I should have called social services. I should have told someone. But I was 18, scared, and I thought Ruth would handle it once she realized. She didn't, I whispered bitterly. She protected him. She protected a fantasy, Lorraine corrected. The fantasy that her son wasn't a monster. The fantasy that she wasn't the kind of mother who raised one. I swallowed hard. I never thought of Grandma Ruth that way. Strong, strict, distant, yes. Cold at times, yes. But complicit? Fearful? Capable of such a devastating failure? I wasn't ready to reconcile the grandmother I loved with the woman who abandoned my mother and failed to protect me. Lorraine's hand covered mine. You don't have to forgive her, you know. She asked me to, in the letter. And she also knew you might not be able to. Silence fell, heavy, shaking, honest. Later that evening, after Lorraine left to make dinner, I wandered through the house alone. Each step echoed with memories. I found myself standing outside a door I had never dared to open as a child. My mother's old room. It smelled faintly of lavender, even though no one had been in here for years. Dust covered the dresser, the curtains were faded, but her presence lingered like a soft hum. I sat on the edge of her bed, running my fingers across the quilt. I'm sorry, I whispered to the empty room. I thought you didn't want me. My throat thickened. I thought you left because I wasn't enough for you. A sob escaped me before I even knew it was coming. The little girl inside me, desperate for a mother's love, finally understood it wasn't my fault she left. It wasn't because of me. It was because of him, because of this house, because of what she endured. The truth felt like both a wound and a salve. A breath escaped my lips, shaky but real. Then I noticed something. On the nightstand was a small jewelry box, the same one she used to keep on her dresser before she left. I hesitated before touching it. Inside were a bracelet with a missing clasp, a ticket stub from a concert dated the year before she left, a single folded note. My heart pounded as I opened it. My baby girl, if you ever see this, please know I wanted you. I fought for you. I never stopped loving you. Mama. My vision blurred. I pressed the note to my chest and cried in a way I had never allowed myself to cry. The child in me, abandoned, confused, wounded, finally heard the truth she'd been aching for her entire life. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I wiped my face and answered, Ari? You okay? You didn't call. Her worry poured through the speaker like warm honey. I'm here, I whispered. You sound like you're underwater. I feel like I am. What happened? I exhaled shakily. Everything. She waited. Patient. Steady. So I told her, piece by piece, word by word, the shed, the letter, the tape, the Polaroid, the truth about my mother, the truth about my uncle. When I finished, there was silence on the line. Ari, she whispered, voice trembling. I'm coming. No. Ariel, I need to do this alone. But you shouldn't be alone with this. I'm not, I whispered. Lorraine's here, and
for the first time. I feel like the truth is finally in the room with me. I think I need to sit with it. Simone exhaled shakily. You promise to call me tonight? I promise. I love you, she said gently. Even when you break open. I love you too.
After dinner, Lorraine went to bed, leaving me alone in the living room with the cassette tape sitting on the coffee table. His confession. I stared at it. A small, harmless object, but holding a storm inside. Did I want to hear his voice? Did I want to relive the pain? Did I need a stranger, a monster, to explain what he did to me? My hand hovered over the tape. Then I pulled back. No, I whispered. Not tonight. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Truth didn't have to come from his mouth. I already had enough truth from the people who mattered. I turned off the lamp and went upstairs. Sleep didn't come easily, and when it did, it came violently. I was in the backyard, 8 years old again. The grass was tall. The shed door creaked open. A shadow moved behind me. His hand reached out. That laugh, that awful, haunting laugh. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. His fingers grabbed my shoulder. I jolted awake, gasping, drenched in sweat. The room felt too small, the air too tight. My heart racing so fast I thought it might break. I got up and stumbled to the window, pushing it open. Cool night air rushed in. I breathed. In, out. In, out. Then I saw something that made my blood freeze. A silhouette, standing by the shed. A man's silhouette. My chest seized. My breath stopped. He was still, watching the house. Watching me. My voice shattered through the quiet. Lorraine! The silhouette turned and ran. Lorraine rushed to my room, hair messy, eyes confused. Ari, what happened? There was someone outside, I gasped. A man, standing by the shed. Her face drained of color. Are you sure? I saw him, Lorraine. She grabbed a flashlight and we ran downstairs. Outside, the wind blew hard, rustling the grass. We reached the backyard, and my heart thundered as the shed came into view. No one was there, but on the ground, near the door, was a footprint in the mud. Fresh. Large. Lorraine's eyes widened. Oh, God. What? I whispered. That's not yours. And it's big. I swallowed hard, my whole body trembling. Do you think it's him? No, she said quickly. James died 4 years ago. Cancer. My mind spun. Then who? Lorraine looked at me, face pale. Someone who doesn't want you opening old wounds. My stomach twisted. Someone who knows the truth. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And someone still alive. A chill swept through my entire body. Because if it wasn't James, then someone else knew exactly what happened in that shed. Someone who had protected him, or enabled him, or stayed silent. And they were here, watching. We went inside and locked every door and window. Lorraine paced the living room. Ari, I don't think this was random. I don't think this was just someone passing by. My phone vibrated suddenly and I jumped. Unknown number. Again. My heart pounded. I answered with a shaking voice. Hello? Silence. Ariel? A deep voice said. My blood turned to ice. I knew that voice. Older, rougher, but familiar. "Who is this?" I whispered. A low breath crackled through the line. "You shouldn't have opened that shed." The call cut off. I dropped the phone. Lorraine caught my shoulders as my legs buckled. "Ari, who was it?" My voice barely escaped my lips. "Uncle James is dead." "Yes, but he wasn't the only one in that shed." Lorraine's face turned ghost white. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard, trembling violently. "There was someone else there that day." My voice cracked. "And he's still alive." The air in the living room was thick, almost suffocating. The echo of that phone call, the voice saying, "You shouldn't have opened that shed," still rattled inside me. I could barely breathe. My body was shaking violently. Lorraine was next to me, gripping my shoulder, but even her presence couldn't calm the storm inside. "Someone else was there that day," I whispered, my voice shaking. "And he's still alive." Lorraine paled. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard, forcing the words out. "The shed. That day. James wasn't alone. He had an accomplice. Someone who helped him, or watched, or I don't know. But someone else saw me. Someone else knew. And that person is the one outside tonight." Her eyes darted toward the window. "Do you think—" I shook my head. "I don't know. But whoever it is, they're not done with me." I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shed, Uncle James, the shadow of the other man. When dawn finally came, I forced myself out of bed. Lorraine was already up, sipping tea quietly. She looked older somehow, worried. "I called the police last night. They'll patrol tonight. I know it's not much, but..." I shook my head. "No, I need answers, not protection." I grabbed the red journal from the shed. My grandmother's handwriting leapt off the pages. "He's still alive." That sentence repeated in my mind like a drumbeat. I flipped through the journal carefully. More than just my grandmother's guilt, there were names, dates, and hints about the night in the shed. Then I found a folded envelope, yellowed with age, tucked into the back cover. It was labeled, "Ariel, the truth you must see." My hands trembled. As I opened it, inside were a stack of photographs. Handwritten confessions from Uncle James's accomplice, someone I had never imagined. And a key. I flipped the first photograph. It was the shed, James inside, and a man standing in the corner, tall, broad-shouldered. His face was partially shadowed. I froze. Recognition hit like a lightning strike. It was my father's brother, my own Uncle David. My grandmother had kept it secret. He had been involved that day. Not just present, but complicit. He had helped cover up the assault. My throat went dry, my stomach twisted. Everything I thought I knew about my family, my safety, my mother's absence, James's death, it all unraveled. And yet, I felt a strange clarity. The puzzle pieces finally fit. Confrontation. Lorraine insisted I bring the evidence to the police, but I felt I needed one final confrontation. I had to face the man who had haunted my childhood. Not just James, David. That night, I drove to the outskirts of town, following the directions in the envelope. My heart pounded like it would burst. Every memory, every scream, every smell, smoke, wet earth, rubber, returned. And there he was, standing outside a small cabin, clearly waiting. I stepped out of the car, hands shaking, clutching the photographs. David turned. His eyes widened when he saw me. His voice trembled. "Ariel," he said. I didn't respond. "You don't understand," he tried, stepping closer. "I know," I said coldly. "I understand more than you think." I held out the photographs and the letters. "You were there. You helped him. You watched me. And you've been hiding ever since." His face drained. He tried to say something, but I cut him off. "I'm done with fear. I'm done with silence. The police will hear this. The truth will finally be told." The next day, I gave everything to the authorities. Every photograph, every letter, every page from the journal. David confessed under pressure. He admitted to being there, to helping James cover up the assault, and to intimidating anyone who might remember. The truth came crashing out, shattering decades of lies. The town murmured. My family had secrets no one imagined, and yet I felt lighter than I had in years. I realized the trauma had shaped me, but it no longer controlled me. The shadows that haunted me were finally exposed to light. Weeks later, I returned to the house. The shed was locked, empty, silent. I had burned the letters I didn't need, kept the photographs for memory, and filed the rest with the police. Lorraine visited, Simone called every day. I started therapy again, but this time with clarity. Knowing the truth wasn't something to fear, it was something to process. I painted the walls of the house myself. Bright colors, sunlight yellow, sky blue. I wanted to reclaim this place, my place. Every brushstroke was a promise. I am stronger than fear. I am more than silence. And one evening, sitting on the porch, looking at the sunset, I whispered, "I survived. I am free. I am Ariel." The little girl who screamed in the shed, she was still inside me, but she was no longer trapped. She was finally safe. Trauma leaves scars. Sometimes it leaves shadows, but truth, no matter how painful, has a way of setting you free. I will never forget what happened in that shed. I will never forget James or David or the fear that gripped me. But I can choose to live in the shadow or to live in the light. I choose light. And in the quiet of my new home, I smile because I am Ariel. I survived. I reclaimed my life, and I will never let anyone take it from me again.
If you liked this story, please like and subscribe to my channel. And tell me, have you ever faced something from your past you tried to forget?